You're listening to Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran Podcast.
Now introducing your host of Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran, the one-man show, Brian Roof.
Hey, what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another great day, another great interview. I'm excited for my next guest. It's not too often that we get to talk to someone who's been kind of embedded with, the bad guys, and doing a lot of stuff. He is a retired special agent with the ATF. So I imagine we're going to get to hear some interesting story. He's also an author. He's written a lot of books and continues to write a lot of books. So here to talk all about himself and let us know what's going on with him is Ignacio Esteban. What's going on?
Hey, Brian, man. Thanks for having me. Pretty cool intro. I like it.
Hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on and
Yeah.
getting ready to tell us all about yourself. So let us know where you grew up, kind of what, how life led you down the path that you are now. And
Yeah.
here's some good stories, man.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm actually born in LA and,
Okay.
and raised in Miami. My grandparents, no background, are Spanish.
Big cities. One
Yeah.
city. Yeah, man.
Yeah. The Magic City. Absolutely. A lot of magic going on in that city. Especially with the drugs. No doubt about that. And my grandparents and great grandparents were Spanish. They came to Cuba, and unfortunately, during the Castro Communist Revolution, they had to come to the United States, and they came here. And I was fortunate enough to be born and raised in this great country of ours, great country, the political asylum. And they came in here, and they had a great life in Cuba, and it's very tragic. And we will talk a little politics later, but very tragic what the communists did and what you see that the extremists can do, nationalizing.
Right.
It's not just businesses, but families, homes, and you lose all your wealth and your hard work. They're very content, very happy there. But it came here, and I have to say, with the one generation, I've done really well in this country, and I have no complaints, but only love and patriotism. And that's why I'm glad I was able to do the cases I did and put a lot of these bad people who were really bad, repeat violent offenders, gang members, armed drug dealers, international firearms traffickers, domestic firearms traffickers, dealing with armed home invaders, murder for hire cases, and a lot of stuff I did in my 26 years. So raised in Miami, and I think, during that time in the 80s, I was young, I was in middle school. Miami Vice was really popular, right?
Right. Yeah, man. For sure.
Miami Vice was really cool. Don Johnson, you had the Ferrari right there, the long hair, the beard, everything going, the cool weapons, all the flash and all that. And it's like, and I recognize all the scenes from the Miami because, I live in the city. So then you're driving by the locations. Oh man, this is where they filmed this part here. This is pretty cool. And of course, the cool music you had also, you can't beat that with the soundtrack Miami Vice. So Phil Collins and everything else. So in the air, right? I mean, it all worked well. I said, man, that'd be pretty cool. And I never really thought I'll be an undercover. I have to be honest with you. I never thought of doing that work, but I would end up looking like that because I didn't sound like this. I didn't look like this. That's for sure. And maybe you see some of the pictures. I had long beard, super long hair, because I grew up in Miami and I spoke Spanish. I brought an accent, like almost like a Tony Montana, Scarface. My English, it broke, speaking so much. I wanted to make sure these bad guys I dealt with didn't think I was highly educated. And I had all these degrees and what have not, because you want to play, hey, I've been in Cuba about 10 years and I've been in this country and this is what I'm doing now. So, but again, Miami Vice was out there. So I thought, that's a pretty cool show. And I put it back in my mind and whatever. I graduated from college. I was back in Miami. I was studying at FIU, which is Florida International University. I was working on a master's degree and I was going to put in for law school. Now, this is the mid 90s, about 1995 or so. And I accepted to go to a school up in Lansing, Michigan. Really cold, big contrast from a guy who's a Florida guy, right? Florida kid. And I was like, oh, man, let me look. And the internet had just started in 95. I got Windows 95. And a lot of people really said, what's this whole thing with the internet? And they said, well, you can look for jobs. You can do a lot of things on the internet. But they didn't understand the whole dial-up. Remember we had dial-up and you couldn't use your phone. And it's like, what the hell?
You did not connect or something. You have to redo it again.
my first email was Prodigy, right? I had AOL, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a different world, the internet. It's completely evolved. People were like, man, I don't think this is going to do well. People are going to spend their time indoors. and go online. People are like scratching their head. Yeah, man, I think so. I
People
think this.
have problems with little glitches here and there. They had no idea what we went through in the 90s.
Oh my God, yes, it's so slow sometimes, right? It would
Right.
take awful, awful. But one thing you could do is apply for jobs on federal jobs online, right? Fed world. So I looked at some jobs, and my background. I was a very athletic guy too, and I was somewhat practical with weapons. My dad was a gun enthusiast. He taught me how to shoot. So I was trained with weapons. I was very athletic. I had a scholarship in college for tennis. I had played number one for my university. So I was a big runner, very avid in shape, and I started putting in for jobs in there. I put in for U.S. Customs. They look for Spanish speakers who knew the area, and most of the flights that come in at MIA, Miami International Airport, like 90% were from Latin America. So they wanted the customs officials to be able to speak directly with the possible smugglers, right?
Bilingual was very key.
That
Yeah.
was big. That was
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And you able to speak Spanish and you have the background for it. Well, I did because I had working my master's and I grew up in that culture, right? I had people who were friends from all over South America, from all over Latin America, the Caribbean, and so you're familiar with
Especially
all the.
living in Miami. Yeah.
Oh
You
my God, yes.
definitely
I don't
you
know.
were
Have you ever been to
part of
Miami?
the culture. I've I don't think we've made it to Miami. We went out there to Disneyland, so
Disney
or
World in
Disney
Orlando?
World, my bad, yeah, in
Yeah,
Orlando.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we never made it out to Miami.
Oh, you gotta make a trip out. There's a whole different world out there. It's a gateway to Latin America, for sure. And South Beach has its own vibe now. And I was there in the 90s. I told the story. I'll regress a little bit. And during the 90s, South Beach hasn't even really. It just started to eke out. And it's like, what is this whole Art Deco thing that's looking out here? This is going to become a big thing. It's going to be a fad that's going to be gone. And I said, this might stick around. I wasn't a big fan of Miami Beach, but it ended up being a big deal, and it got pretty big. So I went from there, and I got the job with Customs, and I went from almost going to law school, right? Almost going to law school to be right there in the front line of the war on drugs. And MIA at the time would have some of the biggest seizures in the country
Oh
with
yeah.
Customs for there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is before the Mexican cartels take care of. This is when the Colombian cartels are still thriving, right? You have the Medellin and the Cali cartels, and they're pumping the drugs through transshipment countries. And the fastest way to get it into this country is through airplanes. And they're loading them up in 747s, and they're coming in here because we had so many cargo flights and so many passenger flights coming in. It's only a handful of us that could really look at this. So we were maybe inspecting maybe less than 5% of the stuff coming in. And one thing I didn't anticipate, Brian, and I was a guy in my early 20s out of college, right, is the amount of corruption. The amount of corruption that was at the airport, from the ramp workers to the longshoremen, and even within our own ranks.
Is it because
Even
the
with
mafia was paying them off type stuff? I mean, just
cartels.
the cartels were,
The
yeah.
cartels are enormous, and they had a lot of control. When you're having billions and billions of coke, I mean, let's say, easily 3,000 pounds coming in per load, easily,
Yeah.
and getting in the money, and the money has to go back. So the
Yeah.
payout was enormous for a lot of these guys. And a lot of these guys, like I said, some of these guys, they're struggling. And if you don't have, one thing I say, if you don't have a good moral compass,
Easy to get them.
easy to get
Throw
people.
some money at them.
Easy to get people, easy from
Yeah.
all types, walks of life. It's just easy. And one of my supervisors, he fell into a trap, and it was kind of shocking. Shocking. He was pretty much working with the local authorities. So you had MIA, which was the big airport, and then you had like a little regional airport nearby, about 10 miles away, that also have flights coming in, but like smaller planes. So he would go on the weekends and clear that flight out himself with let's say Hollywood Police Department, Hallandale Beach Police Department, and let's say have 300 pounds of cocaine in there. He will clear it. He'll put it in vans and then take it to a different warehouse to sell it for distribution.
Oh God.
Unbeknownst to them, that little airport was wired by internal affairs.
Oh, fell
Yes.
right into it.
Yes, he did. And I always said it's not worth. And you've seen that, but just my own experience. I grew up in the Catholic schools and had good family values, and I saw with my family. I would hate to lose my freedom like that.
No kidding.
I would hate to be incarcerated for years for being stupid like that. And
I
making
mean,
a mistake.
there's the value. Like, what's your life risking it? I mean, I wonder how much money he was getting paid.
I think he would
risk
make
it for the biscuit.
couple 100,000 for your freedom. Oh, no way. It's
Yeah,
not
no
worth it. A lot of
way.
these
Not
guys,
even.
no way. No, it's not worth it. And so many things. And then you shame your name, you shame your
Yeah,
family,
how
you
long
shame
had the
yourself.
supervisor been
He's
on the
been there for
force?
years. He was on for
Years?
years.
Gosh, dang, man.
And
Probably
then
was pretty close to being more on the retirement side
yes,
than
yes,
yeah,
he was.
gosh, dang it.
Yes, that's awful. And then I saw other guys, because people cooperate, other guys get popped also, which, you would have lunch with or whatever. And we had different teams. And then also internal affairs within customs at the time would escort one of these guys, and let's say in the concourse in front of all the other customs officials and passengers. He would have the leg irons on, the belly chain, handcuffed in the front, and being escorted. All they said, "Oh my God, I know this guy here," and they got him too now. So you're looking like, man, and they're making examples that don't do this. This is what's going to happen to you also. If this is what happens, it becomes a show, a spectacle. You saying, man, you scratch your head. So that made an impact on me for sure as a young man in my early
Right.
20s. That said, there's a lot of bad things going on. The drugs are coming in rampantly. You do the best you can. You work hard. It's a tough job, not an easy job to do. It's very physically demanding, but you do the right job so you can go home and sleep well at night. Because I don't want to be worried about sugar hitting the door and coming in for me.
Yeah, no kidding, man. You don't want the knock being for you.
No, no. So,
You'd rather be the knocker, not being knocked on.
no. I want to sleep good at night. I want to be able to
Yeah.
sleep good at night, not worried about that. And so then with customs, you network a lot. We make a lot of seizures. Like I said, it wasn't uncommon to be seizing. And people get creative. Sometimes we have even mules, people who will swallow all these pellets.
Oh
You know,
gosh, dang.
it's awful. They would come in these flights and they would load them up. The cartels would have these flights. And I felt bad because some of these people were peasants and they were threatened or they were used. They weren't paid much. And they load these people up in these planes and they're coming into our country. And sometimes they get lucky that we catch them, because if we don't catch them and if you can't pass this stuff
They're gonna
fast
be
enough,
yeah.
they'll kill them and they'll gut them. Right? That's
Yeah.
a lot of money in your gut. They want that. They don't care. It's a ruthless, awful business these guys do. That's why it's cutthroat completely, physically and literally. So
They definitely dehumanize things, man. I mean, my
absolutely.
gosh.
Humans have no value for these cartels, and you can see the pictures online. If folks you haven't seen it, you can see how the Mexican cartels operate with the sicarios and what they do to each other. Is if you cross each other, they make videos of it, and you
Oh
can see
yeah.
horrible, torture, and not just you, but to your family. And they
Family,
may do your
right.
family first, and then
First.
so you can see it, and then do it to you, and then put the videos out there. It's an ugly business. That's for sure. It's brutal. It's what they do to each other. So I end up networking a lot because we do a lot of seizures with the FBI, ATF, DEA, Secret Service, and others, because we make all kinds of different seizures. It's amazing the stuff you see coming in through the port right there. People trying to smuggle it on top of them. Counterfeit currency, counterfeit credit cards. They're trying to bring in drugs awfully. They use your kids sometimes. Sometimes they even put dope in their shoes, right? And try and get in. They have liquid cocaine in the bottles they're bringing in, right? It's just amazing. As crazy as they can get, that's what's coming in, and then doing it as fast as they can. So that was on the border. I didn't need probable cause, right? Everybody who comes in is subject to search. That's called border authority. Everybody gets searched. I look at through things, but I want to take the case to a bigger level to be an agent. We need probable cause, and then you take it in front of a jury and have it beyond a reasonable doubt. So I start putting in for all these different agencies, and ATF picked me up the fastest.
Nice.
The good thing with ATF,
Sure, they always need somebody.
yeah, and at least with ATF, I didn't go to the southwest border. I wasn't sent to Puerto Rico, what some people do. I went to Tampa, my old stomping ground, where I studied at. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing. And the group I went to did a lot of undercover work. So if that's something you don't know, you're not familiar with, it's just something you can't jump into. You got to have a mentor. You got to study it. And you got to figure out your own style pretty much, because if not, you can get yourself hurt pretty badly or worse. Right?
Sure, I'm sure it's more than just watching Miami Vice. Like,
No, yeah, that's a lot more. That gives you some ideas.
right? Yeah.
How you
Want a
want to look?
nice cool coat,
Yeah, exactly. We'll get a car I like to have.
Yeah, right.
And a nice Ferrari. That's for you. You know, I just
Shoot.
have some nice cars. Can't play. I have all different kinds of vehicles. Some trucks were good. It all depends. We did have some flash cars. Sometimes we had Mercedes Benz or BMWs. Nice sporty cars, trucks, whatever it takes. You got to blend, and that's important. And one thing I learned from my the partner, my mentor that I had, Carlos, is that you develop your own style. And he's from Puerto Rico. He had his own accent, and he had a really crazy story early in his career, which made a big impact on him. Back in like '87 Hialeah, which is within Dade County. He was at the I think the Westland Mall, and they're doing an arrest. And this is unbelievable. He will later do, when he retired, he would do a show on Ripley's Believe It or Not on this and other networks. It's called 1 in a Million, where he's in the front. Here's the arrest team right here. Here's the bad guy right in the car, and here he is in the front, and they have the SWAT team in the back, and he jumps out, and he has a SIG 9mm. The bad guy has a SIG 9mm. He has his gun out, and the guy shoots at him, and it goes right through the muzzle into his barrel.
Wow.
Boom. Look what the gun would be right there, right?
Wow.
Boom. He's like the Matrix, man. He's catching bullets. What the hell? You can do that once. He was lucky that the SWAT team was there and opened up and took care of that guy. But that was, I mean, that was your birthday, bro.
That's 1 in a million shot right there.
Wow. I mean, it could have gotten so many. Look where, let's say you had your muzzle right there, right? Look at a different place it can go to, but it went right there, not here. Here. Wow.
That's amazing. Wow.
So I learned a lot from him, and he's also was a big martial arts guy, and he did a lot of karate. And he was, I think, at 10th grade back. So it was really cool working with him and stuff. But at the end, like I said, I grew my hair out, the beard. I started working undercover, and I started doing a lot of different kind of cases. Like I said, with gang members, and I worked in Tampa area, and then I also worked up in Pasco County, and then I also worked in Miami too. I did about 12 years in Tampa. And then I transferred to Miami and worked there for about 7-8 years. Yeah. And I also worked on the international trafficking group, working with FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Wow. And then from there, we would promote and go to headquarters and work with the number one in command for the Central Division in ATF, who would later become number 2 overall for ATF, which is pretty good. And just working on, it was pretty much a result of, I don't know if you remember Operation Fast and Furious, which was a debacle of guns going to Mexico where they should have been stopped in the U.S. and not let smuggled out. So a lot of people lost their jobs and they were fired, high ranking. The director at the time, acting director at the time, Melson, he stepped down, and many guys were fired because of it. It was a bonehead operation, shouldn't have happened. And there's no way. Also, you can try to trace the guns back from Mexico to the U.S. Really didn't make any sense. You had the chance. You had to stop the guns from going down south. And that's why we came up with this program, which was to help monitor high-risk cases. So I was part of that program when I was at headquarters, monitoring the riskiest cases, especially international trafficking, to make sure things are done right so that doesn't happen again. So I was doing that in headquarters for about 2.5 years. And I wanted to go to Mexico. But with Lopez Obrador as the president of Mexico, his policies kind of leftist socialist, and his policy is pretty much hugs for thugs. He doesn't want to be like Calderon was, going to war with the cartels. He pretty much says, that's the Americans' problem. What's going up there with the cocaine? They have the guys who are using all the drugs. They need to figure out how to stop that. And the Canadians and the Europeans. I'm pretty much going to be hands off and let them deal with when they're a problem, which is not the right approach there. And he didn't like Americans, the U.S., doing operations in Mexico. And he didn't want us having a diplomatic immunity either. Well, man, or carrying weapons. So I said, I don't think that's a good idea to take my family up there. How deadly you are. Americans have been killed. Agents have been killed in Mexico. They want you unarmed. They don't want you doing your job. There's really no reason to go to Mexico then. So I retired from ATF when I had over 21 years with ATF, 26 years overall. And I started doing other things in my life, which I think was the right time. I still, even though I'm in my early 50s, I don't feel it, and I don't sound it, but I am a guy that I still feel in some ways like in my early 30s in some ways.
Yeah, I feel you. I think that, we always definitely, our minds are definitely that way. Sometimes our body, I don't know if it agrees with that, but
yes, that's true too.
In our mind.
So there's better days, good days, and bad days. And then I got involved in writing, right? It was during the pandemic. and the pandemic was winding down, but still a lot of people were staying in. Everybody was fearing, the sky's falling mentality, right? I know California was kind of extreme with that, and same with New York City, and
Mhm.
Virginia was kind of in the middle. I was where I was living at the time because I was working at headquarters. Florida, DeSantis, give him credit, man. He didn't give into that, right?
Yeah.
He
No.
kept Florida open for business, and I think
Good.
a lot of people should learn from that.
Yep.
That I think, and this is just me talking a little bit here. If you're a healthy person, which I think we've seen that now, it's good to go on. But if you have health issues, yeah, maybe you should stay. That's fine. That's up to you. Get the vaccine. Get what you need. But don't mandate and force things on people where it may not be necessary. And especially don't shut down businesses where California has taken a beating, and it is just awful. Awful. I'm not a big fan of Gavin Newsom.
It sounds like it sounds like we're starting to become Cuba, right? Like
Awful.
yeah,
Or
we're
worse.
getting dictatorship and telling us what we gonna do, and if we don't, then you're gonna be in trouble.
Like the CCP, right? Look what they did to their people, right? They started this, what appears, right? They covered it up in what looks like the Wuhan lab, and because it they come with their markets because they kept their fish market, seafood markets open, right? If it came from there, you think they would have kept that open? No, but that lab got closed. That got shut down pretty quick, and they covered everything up pretty quickly. That doesn't sit well with a lot of people. And then they try to destroy their own people by putting them in these little camps and these cages. And at the end, things really exploded for Xi Jinping, and we had no choice. We had to open the country back up again. It shows that the extremism a lot of these dictatorships take. Kim Jong-un from North Korea, Xi Jinping in China, Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. It's all over the region. I've written books about all these dictators, tyrants and dictators, in Amazon too, which I find interesting. But hats off, kudos off to DeSantis for standing up to the Fauci and those who I think we're pushing too hard. I think we're pushing too hard.
A narrative.
Yeah, I think so. And
I think there was probably a bigger thing behind it all. Like they wanted us to shut down. They needed everybody to stay home. They needed all these things to happen. And if 2020 changed a lot of things, right? Like the way we use technology, the way now everybody, they have pick up your groceries, they have drop off your groceries. They have a lot of things where we don't have to go into the stores or interact and use kiosk and all these other things.
We used it during the pandemic, but then they said, you know what? I'm not going to pay the extra fees and all that. We're fine now. Now it's time to go back to normal, right? And go out and interact a little bit. I mean, some things are good. I think people keep it. Other things people would say, you know what? That was an extreme measure that was necessary at the time, but we don't need. What I'm hoping is that we learn from history, right? That we don't have another pandemic 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever. And it's like, oh no, here we go again.
Unfortunately, history shows that we don't learn well from history, right?
Yes.
That's what history does show.
Yeah, history tends to repeat itself because people, for their own narrative, ignore it for whatever reason. Because I think they liked, and it's just me speculating here, especially with the Democrats and the liberals sometimes, they don't like to see people of certain wealth do better than other people. Sure. And the communists, right, they want to keep us all the same. They want to keep everybody so they can bankrupt and ruin your business and everything else, then everybody's struggling. And then that's a better thing for the way they like to control the masses. That's just my opinion, what I've seen, my experience.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, as an ATF agent, man, I imagine, and especially in Miami, that you've had some major bust. Like, can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, for sure. I did a lot of undercover work in the Tampa area, and of course, I did some in Miami. And major busts with customs. I mean, I'll tell you one here, which was interesting, and because so much drugs coming in, we had a huge bust coming in from Guayaquil, Ecuador. So the Colombian cartels will use other countries known as transshipment countries in South America, in the Caribbean, and because they knew we will be looking for flights from Colombia, right? Cali, Medellin, right? Bogota, the capital, right? But do you have time to really look flight from Quito, Ecuador, or Guayaquil? It's hard, especially if you don't have intelligence. And this is one we got lucky on. And this was end up being 650 pounds or so of cocaine in this huge fish. I think they were a group or tunas. You had a block of kilo next to a block of ice inside these guys. right? And they were going to end up getting ripped off. They were going to go where they're supposed to. They're getting ripped off, and look how quickly they will get that dope in here, the cocaine here, within 4 hours or so, 5 hours. That's pretty quick, and that was the quickest way to get direct flight, Guayaquil, Miami, cargo flight, get ripped off. There's corruption, dirty ramp workers, and off they go. And that's one of many. Sometimes we have these huge 747s, and they will put them in the stems of the flowers.
Wow.
Just think about that.
They're creative. These guys get creative as hell, man. And they
Stems
probably have these guys working for free, just sitting there doing it, get executed. You did this wrong.
Boom. No, they don't care. There's so many bodies they use. They say, and you know how hard it is to find that? You need intelligence for that. Even sometimes the canine wouldn't pick that up, right?
Yeah, right.
It's tough. So,
or even if the dog did, you're sitting there like, it's a flower, man.
Right. You got to go. It's hard to look at the stems of the flowers. It's like a straw inside the stems. It's unbelievable. Wow. Even the X-rays are hard. I'm telling you, these guys were good and creative. So that's some of the stuff I saw on the custom side. Again, we talked about the mules and people swallowing stuff, and I thought it was creative too. I thought it was creative. They would put it in the alcohol they were bringing in. Right. You would have to drain it, and the cocaine will be inside there, which I thought that was also very creative. It's just when you shake the bottle, normally it shouldn't be cloudy, but like a big cloud come in there. Poof. You need something was in there.
Man, that's crazy. So I mean, I imagine too that they were using fish and all kinds of stuff for probably many years.
Yeah.
At what point in time were they probably like, hey, let's start checking these fish? I guess there got to a level that you guys almost had to do 100% inspection when it was coming from certain countries because, 10 out of 10 times you were dealing with something.
Yeah, no, and like I said, you have a handful of people. We're lucky we get, like I said, 5% coming in when it was customs. But these guys are, like I said, so much corruption in Latin America. They said, okay, now you're checking this country. We'll send through Peru now. Oh, you're checking this one here? Well, they had so many different to pick from. Oh, now we'll do Central America. Now we're going to be using here. We're going to be going through the Caribbean. We're through Jamaica. We used to get a lot of stuff. Jamaica, Haiti, of course. And we know what's going on in Haiti today with out of control there with the gangs ruling Haiti, and they can't get control of that situation. Haiti's been like that since I can remember, and lawless situation. They want a lot of guns, and a lot of drugs were coming in from Haiti also to the United States, to Miami. So
definitely ran by thugs.
Oh my God. It's like you don't have enough manpower to stop. So we'll talk a little bit. I'll talk about some other stories, ATF, but going with the war on drugs, we don't have an equal partner in the war on drugs in Mexico, right? When López Obrador pretty much is putting his hands up, doesn't care. Even with immigration, he said this is all your problems, right? And it's, but if you maybe want 60 Minutes, I don't know if you saw that interview he did a few weeks ago. He said, but if you want us to do better, I suggest you pay us exactly. Pretty much a shakedown. I thought it was. I think he wanted like $5 billion more in foreign aid to help with this.
We already give him money. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're already giving the dude a lot of money.
You guys already stealing
$5 billion more.
You're stealing it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're stealing it.
They're not holding up to their end of the bargain.
And they can't hold anybody, right? Remember El Chapo Guzman? How many times he escaped, right? Not once, not twice, but third time. And even the third time, he gets interviewed by Sean Penn and Kid Del Castillo in the mountains up there in the Sinaloa, right? And he's getting interviewed by these. What a joke.
Yeah. No shit.
What a joke. And now we have him in the Supermax. So guess who pays? The U.S. tax dollars, right? U.S. taxpayer now has to pay for him to be in the Supermax in Florence, Colorado. And any big cartel guy, guess what? We get stuck to the bill because you don't want to, you don't care to handle your high value prisoners. Unbelievable. So it's unbelievable. So we don't have fair battle there going on, and it's all over Latin America.
The level of corruption is out of hand there already. Yeah.
It's out of control, and it's all over like that in Central America.
They can't even trust their own police and all that stuff. I mean, it is really corrupted in Mexico.
Police, military,
we're giving them money too. Like, hey, here's some more money. And your cartels with it all too, guys.
Yeah, and they don't want us doing our job in there either. So it's just a disaster. And pretty much not only do our job, but they're causing interference. They're obstructing us being proactive on it. So that's the mess I see there with that. And then of course we can do more with people being rehabilitated, right? I mean, it would end if Americans or Canadians or Europeans stop using drugs, right? Well, they're out of business, right? At least out of the drug game. They'll have to do something else. I know they're big into stealing, and they're big into kidnappings and other things are involved in, but it also has to do with stop using it and getting the help these people need, because it really destroys lives. It destroys lives.
You know, talk about getting stuff over here.
Oh, it's easy.
You know, easy now that our border has been basically pretty much opened in this past year, and we weren't doing a very well job of keeping track of what was coming through. Um, I think, you know, it's a matter of time before we start seeing even bigger problems in the U.S. Just let these
Oh,
people start
yes.
getting established if they're not already, and
I think
you
you're
know,
right.
a
Unfortunately,
lot of
Brian.
things are going to be start popping up in the next couple of years, because we're going to see the the downfall of allowing everybody just come on, come in, come out, come on, come on. You know,
Yeah, and it's not from Latin America. You're right. I saw a special documentary, and I saw RFK Jr. go out there on the border and all that. And I feel bad for him too. I wrote a book about him also, about who is RFK Jr., just possibly our next U.S. president. And I just make the case for him. And he's someone, if you don't like Biden and you're tired of Trump, he could be an alternative for you. That's kind of leaning toward remember, he's a Kennedy, right?
yeah,
And he left the Democratic Party because what they were doing to him, they pretty much rigged the system. The Democrats did, made it impossible for him to run against Biden. I think he would have beaten Biden, and he rigged the system against him. And they shut him from debates. He couldn't do anything. He had no choice but to leave the Democratic Party and become an independent, possibly working a lot with the Libertarians. And I think there has not been an incumbent U.S. president win with a strong third-party candidate. Perot did it to Bush, right, in '92. Anderson helped do it to Carter when Reagan beat him in 1980. And I do see history repeating itself here now in 2024. And I think RFK Jr. will do it to Biden, and Trump will win in 2024.
you know, I really hate to say this as a person that took an oath to defend the country and stuff, but we've hit a level of corruption here in the U.S. now that we're almost no better than any other country.
Yeah, it's
You
getting bad.
know, we used to be a country lead by example, you know, and a good example. Now we're getting in playing the games that the evil people are playing, and it's even getting worse. And
Yeah.
it's to a level that it's getting scary for our future and our kids, and the way that they're going to be growing up, and the level of protection that we're going to feel that we need to put out there. But
Stumbling, bumbling Joe. And on top of that,
yeah,
is Biden really the president of the United States?
to be honest with you, I think this is where a lot of people fail to understand that the president is literally the face of
Mhm.
of this. They're the fall guy in a way. They're not even really the ones controlling it. Go look at the rich families.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I promise you, just Google the richest families in the world, and you'll start looking and seeing what companies they own, what
Yeah.
type of things they're involved in. And we've moved from a way of where it's become, we the people have control of our own country. Now we're basically being controlled by a government that doesn't have any term limits. They're allowed to sit in office forever.
Mhm.
They've now lost what they were actually in there for, and now everything is about filling their pockets and money. Okay, well, we'll do this for you if you do this for us. And it's all about trading off money, right? Well, we'll vote for this if you guys vote for this.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo.
yeah,
Yeah, but at least have a president. You're gonna be a face of it that you can at least speak, right? And you coherent. I don't think he likes to do. I think is lick ice cream, right? He spends a lot of time licking the ice cream, walking around, and he starts rambling and bumbling. He's stumbling, rambling, bumbling, stumbling, and he falls again. They pick him up again, and then at least I understand it's because of his age, right? He's the oldest president in U.S. history. What is Kamala Harris's excuse? I don't
right.
understand what she's the ultimate word salad. If you ever listen to her, man, she just goes in circles. And have you ever seen the video when she went to this at the
I just think
DMZ?
she wasn't qualified for the job, to be
I
honest with you.
didn't. She has something going on that is not
It-
right.
right.
Go Google. I haven't seen this video. Go to the video when she went to DMZ between North and South Korea. She's right on the border there, right? And she makes a speech. She goes, "And our greatest ally, the United States, North Korea." Wait, is this a deep fake? I thought it was a deep fake. I really thought it was a deep fake. I said, no, this can't be right. Let me check. She completely it up, right? Completely she got it backward. But this comment said, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have. I guess when you're attorney general in California, I mean, probably more because she was in California for all those years. She was a prosecutor and became the AG and everything else. And but I heard a lot of scandals were going on there also. What was going on and affairs and everything else. So not very good. But you just think about this, Brian. She's just a heartbeat away from the presidency.
I know. She's a heart attack away. You know what I mean? Like literally.
So
I hate that we've almost become a circus show to the world.
It's a circus,
and we have these proceedings, and I've watched them. I've watched some of these proceedings on the Hill, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to see what we are doing to our own country. I mean, a lot of things that we focus on, the enemy is getting better as we're sitting here,
unfortunately,
getting caught up in the semantics of things. I think that unfortunately freedom becomes a little bit too free, and then people start bringing in things and start to enforce their will. Like, we've allowed everybody to come over here and bring their culture, bring their belief system. But then what happens is they start building communities, and then you're not allowed in this community unless you adapt to their culture, right? Like there's places in America now that aren't even like America. If you go up to north, like Minnesota and those places like that, they're trying to instill Sharia law. There's a lot of things starting to happen in that way. And, we're literally at a level where we offshore all of our jobs. We sell all of our jobs off to all these different countries. We're sending money off to all these countries. We're cutting off jobs here. We're starting to go into a technology era where a lot of our people are going to be jobless.
Yeah.
I mean, the technology era is going to take people out of their jobs.
Eliminate the human component for sure. Well, these companies want to make money. Yeah, because you know what? Robots or technology,
they don't ask for raises.
They don't ask for raises. They don't call sick, right?
Nope. Yeah. Like, you went a little hard over Memorial Day. I'm not making it in on Tuesday. That robot's not going to tell you that.
No, of course not. It's just there nonstop. It's a machine, and they like that. But there's a cost to that, right? There's a cost to that. Everything
it is a cost, and a lot of jobs that we grew up on and gave us some kind of it gave us a chance to learn things, right? And it gave us a chance to get some experience under our belts.
Yeah, sure.
Those kind of jobs are being eliminated. Yeah. They're starting to go away, and those chances are for our teenagers and our kids.
That's right.
They're running out of opportunities to go start a job and go make some, a little bit of some money to learn how to appreciate a job.
Sure. Appreciate the hard-earned dollar, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it doesn't come easy. And then, of course, we're talking about the economy. Inflation is brutal. I mean, just think about before COVID and after COVID, how expensive everything has gotten. And I don't think they fully understand how to tackle some of these economic issues. And, pumping more money like that to people who need to go back and start working, don't keep them at home, because then, of course, it hurts businesses and it hurts us here. And the strategy doesn't really work well. That's why I see Biden. I think the border is a big problem, and we're kind of hinting at it. I think it will happen, another 9/11 at that level, since we were hinting at it. And when you have a border that wasn't protected, and I was talking about RFK Jr., it wasn't just people that he was witnessing and others that were coming from Latin America, but it's also people coming from China, right? Coming from the Middle East, coming from Africa. So you got a lot of stuff coming in here. That's a problem.
I know. Yeah. It is a huge problem.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on. So I think there are sleeper cells here, unfortunately, Brian.
There is.
Yeah,
there's
going on.
No thinking on that part, man. There are. That's the problem. And there's a lot of mosque and stuff that you and I couldn't go into because we're not of the faith or whatever. So, I mean, I know there's 100%. And they had people at the border who were interviewing people as they were coming through, asking them where they're from. Just, that's the only question they asked. Where are you from? Where are you from? And I'll tell you, the places they were from were not places that like us,
No.
and they're not places that are fans of the Western civilization, right? So I don't think they're over here for the Western culture so much as they are to enforce their will, or there's probably bigger plans. And
Yeah.
something I think I'm a little bit concerned of is us giving up so much of our agricultural rights to China and other foreign countries as well, because we're literally starting to give up our land to other countries.
Yeah. And we also need to be more independent on oil, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we need to go back to war with the Trump administration, right? We can't rely on the Saudis. I don't trust the Saudis and how they do business also, because they play both sides, right? Nigeria is also a corrupt nation. Venezuela. Now, we can't go back to Venezuela because, under the Trump administration, some people don't know this, Nicolas Maduro, who is a dictator, has been indicted as a narco terrorist, right? Working with the cartels, right? His family had been indicted. And maybe with another administration, maybe he comes back, they do something about it, like a Noriega and Operation Just Cause, and maybe go in there and bring him in, right? And maybe he'll be in a cell next to El Chapo in the Supermax or something.
Right. So, you grew, your family and stuff grew up in that kind of, in a very communist type of country. So you get it. You have a understanding of.
They had a taste of it, and they got out of it.
Yeah, your parents definitely had an understanding of what that life is like, right? So I can only imagine when you're living in a country that's considered a free country, and you start seeing communist things coming in here, and that's just the start, right?
That's not happy. But you look at Bernie Sanders, the AOCs, the Elizabeth Warren, right? They pretty much have a different tactic. They've learned 21st century way how to do it. It's not like back then that we just nationalize, right? It's through overregulation, right? They start really taxing you heavily, right? It's tough for you to succeed. They keep you stagnant. They take your stuff and then make it hard for you to succeed in America. That's what they really want. And of course, and a lot of people don't know this, but being an ATF agent, and a lot of the guys I worked with were very pro Second Amendment. A lot of the guys I work with are very pro gun rights and pro Second Amendment. But I don't like what I see in California and the blue states in New York, where they make it hard for people to have their weapons to defend themselves and their families. And you can't. At least Virginia now has become a little more red with Youngkin, and I'm from Florida with DeSantis and others, where it's pretty much your constitutional right, and you should be able to defend yourself, protect yourself, right? They'll make it impossible where, these gun-free zones where you say, oh, you can't have a gun here, because do you think the bad guys listen to that? The criminals do? Of course not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where they're criminals, right? They don't follow laws. So what you're doing is you go to a mall and they say, no guns allowed here, right? You will cop a gun charge if you come here with a firearm. Even though you have a concealed weapons permit, you're not allowed to carry a weapon in this mall. But a mass shooter doesn't care, right? A mass shooter is going to go right in there and light everybody up, and you say, gosh, I wish I would have still had my weapon or done something. But I can't do a damn thing, and I have to run away if I'm lucky.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me that they, think a sign like that the bad guy is going to be like, oh, there's no guns allowed.
You got
here.
me.
Oh, yep. I'll go to the next mall.
Yeah, you got me. That's it.
Yeah.
But what they do is intimidate the average folk, because like, oh man, what happens? I get I had never had an arrest before. What they're going to give me a gun? And they will. They'll arrest you. They'll make a big thing out of you. But
so I would say that's probably one of my biggest problems with our government more than ever is the fear inducing, the constantly fear inducing that they put into our people. Now our kids are becoming little anxious stress balls and having to worry about things that I didn't worry about as a kid because I didn't know about it. Right. But now we're just putting everything up in these kids and stuff. And it's sad to watch it. It's sad to watch it unfold.
Yeah. I've read books about this, the worst mass shootings in U.S. history and how to stop them happening again. And it's always a common thread that you can see that, we don't have a gun problem in this country. We have a mental health crisis.
And it's getting worse.
These guys were just complete whack jobs, right?
Yeah.
But there were warning signs all the way through with a lot of them, especially with the school shootings, where it just fell through the cracks. Nicholas Cruz, of course, the most famous one out of Parkland,
Yeah.
here out of Broward County.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Very familiar.
FBI sat on some leads. Broward County Sheriff's Office sat on some leads. They should have done more. And that's another issue there too. And the resource officer, yeah, that's the worst thing. Even if you have a resource officer and you saw an Uvalde, you got to go in there and do your job, right? You can't just wait out there for the SWAT team to hopefully show up an hour, 2 hours later while the gunman is committing a massacre inside there. Well, the students have nothing, the teachers have nothing, and they're fighting for their lives to still protect their students. And you sit outside waiting for somebody else to come rescue them. You got a gun. And active shooter training I've taken is you got 1 or 2 of you guys, you go inside because you have some weapons, at least address this guy, get his attention and get him away from the students, try and get them out of there. And nothing else, those kids were bleeding out too. Hopefully lessons were learned from Columbine, but like I said, history.
They weren't. Obviously they weren't, because it's happened since
over
then.
and over and over.
Right. It actually happened here. It's been a couple of years now. They caught the kid, but he had a weapon and he was going down the halls and stuff. But at least they had a sheriff on site with a weapon and was able to get him to stop. Right. I mean,
he addressed the threat.
Yep.
Some of these guys are in Uvalde, Texas. I haven't seen the video there. That's heartbreaking. 2 summers ago, they wait outside the classroom when the shooters are in there, and these are like 3rd and 4th graders. Even the parents can hear the shots being fired in their classrooms. Are trying to go in there. They brought their own shotguns, and they're trying to go in their classrooms themselves, and they're being tased. They're being arrested by the police, not allowed to go in there, where the police sat outside and did nothing. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, I have seen that, and I know they're taking a lot of heat. They're trying to get rid of the sheriff. Yep.
They should. The chief there was awful. How did he call it a barricade situation when you have an active shooter and the kids are bleeding and they're even texting 911 for help, come in and save us? If you haven't seen the only teacher that survived the classroom shootings, you haven't seen his interview on one of these shows online, go check it out. It's pretty heartbreaking to listen to him talk, how he saw his kids die in front of him, and he heard the police out there and they did nothing.
Yeah, that's rough. That's and a lot of these little kids are scarred for life now.
Absolutely.
And they'll never be the same from that.
And then history repeats itself. Look at Sandy Hook. That happened years earlier, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's the same. History always repeats itself. I think the most important thing is you got to have professionals who are going to do their job. And maybe even having, after 9/11, what did we do, Brian? The pilots had the option of going to training and being armed, having a firearm in the cockpit, right? They have it secured. They do the training, and they could have firearm in the cockpit if they wanted to. Or maybe the teachers who have military background, law enforcement background, who are gun enthusiasts, who want to do at least have a lock gun in the classroom in case rounds start being popped. At least you can do and try doing something, because if you're waiting for the police to come and save you, like I tell people, when you have a home invader come in your house, if your solution is called 911, that's not going to work, because by the time they show up, it's going to be after the fact. It'll be a clear homicide investigation.
And I'm sorry, a karate chop ain't going to stop a round or a bullet. No. You know what I mean?
Nothing. And I did books also on serial killers, and Richard Ramirez, right, the Night Stalker, right,
yeah.
and all these other guys out there in California.
I did a lot of true crime video. I did 10 episodes on it. But I did them on military guys, there's a lot of them.
And I wrote an essay, an article that got published about common sense things you can do to keep these home invaders and serial killers from entering your home. I could imagine, and I saw it, how many people keep their windows open at night still, don't have an alarm system, keep everything pitch dark, and sometimes don't even lock their own doors.
Well, that's the problem, is everybody gets comfortable, right? It's never happened. It's never happened here in my neighborhood until it does. You know what I mean? If it's going around your surrounding areas, it's only a matter of time before it gets into your neighborhood. And I mean, I'm the kind of person, and that's probably because of my experiences in life, I don't want my family to go through that. No, right? I don't want my family to ever have to experience that. So I'm going to do the necessary things I got to do to hopefully, and even though I'm doing these measures, that doesn't even guarantee that we still won't have something happen.
That's why I tell people also, make sure you have your gun somewhere where you can reach it, your nightstand, load it. Don't keep it in a locked safe Well, that's not going to do you any good either, right? Or the other side of the house. Well, guess
Yeah,
what?
excuse me, hold on. I gotta go get my weapon out of my lockbox real quick. Oh wait, where's my key at?
And if you don't practice, you don't shoot your gun, and you don't know how to really competently use it. That's going to be a tough time when you have a home invader coming straight right at you. You better be ready.
I'll be honest with you. I do this kind of on my own time when no one's around, but I take my weapon and I'll go through the halls. I'll look down things, look at angles. I'm just kind of, I guess, weird like that maybe, or
I
I'm just
train
trying to be
also.
vigilant
I try, be proactive. Okay, so if I know it's expensive to get a camera system, I think it's important if you could get a camera system, get an
at least
alarm system.
that ring one, at
It's
least.
something, but if
Yeah.
you can't afford that, even let's say you can't afford that, get some signs. And this is part of the psychology, the war to play on these home invaders. Put signs outside that say,
You say you have alarm systems and stuff at least,
or,
right? Yeah.
or on the fence have a some bad dog, right? Bad dog everywhere. Keep that outside because that gets your attention. Because dog
Yeah.
doesn't back down to you. A big
Right.
bad dog is not going to back down to you. And if you want to play more psychology on these guys, maybe sometimes they like a big bowl outside, right? Yeah, with a big like a little bone or something in there, or a toy, and that plays on their mind too. It's like I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want any problem with this because this could get ugly quickly and fast. But just common sense like that, lock them doors, close them windows, and have good lighting around your house. If it's like pitch dark everywhere, that's bad also.
Yep, absolutely. And I can agree more. I mean, uh and the thing about it is you want to be that house where that person's like, "Ooh, that looks too complicated." Or you want them to have that second guess on what that they're, "Oh, well, that doesn't look like an easy one."
No,
And the problem is there's a lot of easy ones around. You just don't
plenty
want
of
to
them.
be that one,
They want to be the one that the family that leaves the garage door open at night, right?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of those that
Leave
leave the
your
garage.
car doors open,
Oh
windows
yeah,
down. Yeah.
everything. You're like scratching your head. And it's like, man, they're gonna clean out your garage. They're gonna clean out your cars. They're gonna clean out everything you have. I'm not that guy. I'm the one that makes it. I'm locked down and headaches, and I'm gonna be
I'm gonna make it hard, right?
extremely hard.
Even when I put my Christmas lights up, because we got people that jack your Christmas lights and your blow ups. I'll tell you what, I duct tape, I tie things. I mean, it sucks tearing it down for myself, but I'm like, hey, you want this? You're gonna work for it at least.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, there's characters everywhere, man. Characters everywhere. But that's just a small common sense things. I think they can make a big difference. And if everybody does it, you'll see these guys go in different neighborhoods and say, this is a neighborhood we want nothing to do with it because these guys are not easy at all. And also, I think also when you leave your house, sometimes leave like the TV on or radio on or something. Like they think there's someone there, and don't leave your house dark either. If you're gonna be gone, like you come back late, maybe leave a few lights on. I mean, those are just small common sense things. I think they can go a long way catching someone's attention.
And I mean, another thing, and I don't want people to play into my little PTSD issues, but I'll try not to be so routine. Get up and go jog down the same street every day at the same time. Try to switch things up a little bit because there's watchers that sit
Sure.
around and just sit in their trucks and act like they're just waiting for someone, but they're there stalking and looking at people's houses. I mean, I see it happen from time to time. You're like, who's this car? Why are they just chilling over here? They're not
You
usually
know the
supposed to be here.
cars that belong, you know the cars that don't belong.
Right.
Yeah. So, and there's companies there where they have legitimate companies. I had a case where I had worked where I took these guys down that they were a legitimate window company. This was in Dade City up in Pasco County. And they would park up there. And this is like 2010. Not everybody in that area had alarm systems. And because they know windows, they can open the windows. They go in and they clean house and they take your stuff out. Right. And it looks like a legitimate company, but you don't know what they're really doing behind the scenes also.
Yep. So let's go back a little bit more into the ATF life. Now you did that for how long?
ATF, 21 years.
21 years, man. And you did it all pretty much there in Tampa, Miami area, or?
Yeah. Most of my career was working the street, working cases, and that's why I wrote the book ATF Undercover, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I talk about with ATF, my life, right, and some solutions. I mentioned a little bit here about how to deal with firearms trafficking, violent crime. I do think with firearms trafficking, some of these criminals don't get the penalty they should deserve. I mean,
Right.
if you're trafficking a lot of guns and you're getting a slap on the wrist because you have no criminal history, that's not right. You're
It'll be a
trafficking a
matter
lot
of
of
time
weapons.
before he's back. Just give him the right, a dollar amount, and he'll be right back at
They'll
doing
be
it
back at it.
again. Yep.
Yeah, these guys. And then what's really scary now is these ghost guns, right? I wrote a book about this, Merchants of Death, where you get 3D printed weapons or you print
Oh,
them from parts.
sheesh.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
yeah,
gosh, I forgot about that world now.
yeah. No. It's these guys are gotten really good, and
Yeah.
they don't even have to use a straw. I don't know if you know what a straw man is. Somebody who, let's say, someone who's prohibited, he can't go into an FFL, Federal Firearms Licensing, and fill out the paperwork to buy a weapon. So he uses someone else to go in there for him, right? And those were kind of easy. You can pick those guys out. Eventually, you get good at it, especially when you order the same make and model, right?
Yeah.
Collectors collect, traffickers sell, and they like to buy a lot of repetition because what makes them money. So there's a lot of red flags and that stands out on these guys here. But when you're doing in your own, let's say you have a shop set up and you're ordering parts and these weapons are untraceable, it's getting harder.
Yeah, I imagine, man, and, there you got your dumbest criminals out there, but you also have some really intelligent, smart
You do.
ones that
You do.
know how to get by,
Yes, you do,
and
man. So, yeah.
yeah, it's hard. I imagine it's a constant battle, and it's always gonna be a battle because it's a cat and mouse game, right? The mouse is sitting there trying to think, "How can I outsmart the cat?" And the cat's always like, "I'm gonna catch this mouse," you know?
Yeah.
I imagine it's constantly going around. But, we'll go ahead and switch it up a little bit. We'll get into more
Sure.
of, kinda what you got, writing these books, man. Looks like you already got yourself, a lot of books. Let's talk about your passion for writing books, and we'll
Yeah,
kinda
man.
talk about your books, man. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, so that's there is the Amazon. I'm exclusively on Amazon. So if you type in my name, Ignacio Esteban, there on Amazon, you'll see my books. That's my Amazon author page. You get a little background about myself, my bio with customs and working with ATF, and you see all the books I've written from. If you like biker stuff, I know California. You see a lot with the Hell's Angels, Sonny
Oh,
Barger.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Dude, you got some good books in there. I was like, "Oh, I like those."
Yeah, yeah. I did my homework, did some research on that. To give my experience, I mean, you got also the Mongols. I mean, you got the big rivalry in
Yeah.
California between the Mongols and the Hells Angels. I talk a book about biker wars in Florida, of course. I have to bring up the Outlaws and Taco Bowman. So I had a book on those guys too. And then I did books on. I found it interesting. Like we talked about serial killers. I did one Psycho Killers, right? And a couple of my books are also available on Audible. So if you're not a big reader, but if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, all my books are free for you. So if you're a KU subscriber, all my books are free. You can enjoy the books as much as you like. Please leave a review. And then if you're not a big reader, you can go on Audible and you can listen to my book, ATF Undercover and the Most Dangerous Crime Syndicates of Our Time, which talks about the history there with the bikers, the mafia, talks about Yakuza, talk about street gangs, prison gangs, cartels. So it's almost an 8-hour listen. So I think you guys
Wow.
would really enjoy that.
Nice.
And I'm doing one that's coming out hopefully next month, Tyrants and Killers, which are also about 8-hour listen. I had a professional voice actors help me with both of those, all three books, and I think they're excellent. So please check it out.
That's outstanding, man. So, like, what is your, goal and stuff, for the while you're retired now and stuff, like, what do you got yourself you got any goals out there for yourself? You're gonna continue
Yeah,
to write as many books as you can? What's your,
writing. I'm also working with a PR firm, public relations firm, which has helped me a lot get my name out there. Also doing screenplays. I'm trying to see if I can get ATF Undercover made into a TV series.
oh,
So
shoot, nice.
So I've done some screenplays. I've written that myself. I've taught myself. I never thought really, to be honest with Brian, that I'll be doing all this kind of work. I've been retired now 2.5 years, that I'll be involved in all this different stuff. It kind of happened by not by chance, but I had a passion for it. I started writing about politics. It was back during the COVID era, and I wasn't happy that Beijing was going to host their second Olympics. Then it was the winter before they had done the summer in 2008. Now they were doing in 2022 the winter, and they with their violation of human rights, I really was sickened by the IOC. by the Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, and I thought it was wrong. I thought there was something else going on in the whole situation. So I wrote a book about that. Then I wrote a book about Mexico and the Fast and Furious, what was going on and what's going on with Mexico and why we don't have a fair partner in the war on drugs. And I got very inspired for 2.5 years. I wrote these books in less than 2 years. In less than 2 years.
So
yeah,
do you do a lot of research and stuff with it too?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
When I do fiction, it's easier for me because I already have the ideas
You
in my
can
head.
it comes off of your own ideas.
Yeah, like
when you're trying to make it be legit, you got to go and do as much homework as you can.
Got to
do more than one place.
Yeah, multiple sources. You have bibliographies. You got people look at it. And like I said, some of my books are short, so it gives you, if you don't know much about Fast and Furious, let's say, it gives you a good background, right? And then you go down the rabbit hole and then read more of some of my other sources if you want. Or you don't know anything about the Mongols, or you don't know anything about the Italian, like Gambino family, or you don't know anything about prison gangs or what have you. And then I think these are good books to get you going. And then you go down that rabbit hole that you feel like, oh, I like this. Let me study this a little more.
Nice. Well, is there any last things, anything you want to say that you didn't get a chance to talk about, or anything you want to say before we get off?
Yeah, everything's looking good. Like I said, it's available on Amazon with the books there. I enjoy these shows. If you like, also, if you want to reach out to me, you can reach me out on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Ignacio Esteban, also on LinkedIn. You can find me. If you want to go on YouTube, you can see all the shows. I've done like about 300 or 400 shows already. I've been a guest, and I also do a weekly show. I do a weekly show with William Steele.
Nice.
Have you ever seen this show, Inmate to Roommate, reality TV show on A&E?
I don't think I have, no.
Yeah, he was on that show, and it was very popular. It was, I think, #1 reality TV show there. And we started working together on, we've been doing it like a year and a half, doing a weekly show. And again, just like this kind of conversation, we do true crime, we do current events, we do what's going on in politics. So you can find me, just type Ignacio Esteban on YouTube. And we're also very popular. So you got the Rumble symbol, very big on Rumble also. The shows are doing really good on Rumble. So you can find us out there and take a look at all that stuff. So pretty cool, man. I enjoy this show, Brian.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on, Ignacio, and taking the time to talk about what you got going on. And you could always come back, man, if you want to.
Thank you. Anytime.
Like, yeah, this is open invitation for you.
Thank you.
Definitely enjoyed your company, and appreciate everything that you've done for your community, for keeping, we need people like you, right, to help us to stay safe here in our countryside. So appreciate all that you've done. And the commitment that you put in, it's a hell of a commitment that a lot of people have no clue.
No, 26 years working, especially working cases. And I didn't touch about that, but when you deal with informants, not only do you have your life and your family, but you do it with theirs and deal with the bad guys. The job can pretty much consume you and doesn't stop. So yes, it's nice to be doing this for now. That's for sure.
I bet, man. Well, you continue to enjoy yourself, and look forward to keeping in touch with you. I will be sure to make sure in the description, I will add your social media stuff, a link to your Amazon, all that good stuff. And once again, brother, appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. All right, friends and fam. Well, that's going to wrap up another great interview. I thank you guys so much for tuning in each and every day. If you guys want to check out the website, go check it out, EDASUSMCvet.com. And that's where you can check out all the interviews, all the episodes. And we have nonprofits in there, and we have veteran-owned businesses. And if you want to be added onto the website, you may own a business and you're a veteran, or you have a nonprofit that benefits veterans or first responders. I would love to add you onto the website as well. But anyhow, you know what I say here. If you guys are making the day your bitch, make it your bitch. All right, kill it. Urgh.